They had waited for years, some with hope, others with only silence. Across continents, through letters and longing, they whispered one phrase: Baba is coming. For the first time, he would step outside India, not as an idea, but as a presence, a pulse of love in human form. And when he arrived, time didn't just stop, it dissolved, and the soul remembered. Based on true events from his first European tour, this is not just a record, it is a revelation. The day the sky opened, now streaming on the worker. There was a rumor moving through Europe like incense through a silent hall. Baba is coming. Baba is coming to Europe. But no one wanted to say it too loudly, as if the whisper itself was too sacred to disturb, as if voicing it aloud might cause it to vanish. To some, it felt impossible. After years of confinement, surveillance, suppression, could the master of Ananda Marga truly be allowed to leave India? Could the man who had lit the flame of revolution in so many hearts really walk freely on foreign soil? For others, there was no doubt at all. They didn't ask how, they didn't ask when, they just kept whispering his name and waiting. In regional offices across the continent, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France, telephones rang day and night. Updates flashed between Copenhagen and India like fireflies crossing the sky. Some clung to silence, afraid of disappointment. Others watched the stars each night as if reading a secret signal. And then, one word changed everything. Yes. Permission had been granted. A 1-month passport, 7 countries. A cosmic thread pulled through Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, Holland, Spain, France, and Italy. The preparation began immediately. Letters, logistics, lodgings. But behind every plan beat one truth: he is coming. Geneva Airport, May 6th, 1979. The sky had turned a shade of expectancy. Nearly 200 Margiis from across the continent had gathered like drops of longing pooling into one ocean. They had come from the Alps, the canals, the valleys, the cities, from the east and the west. Some had never seen Baba. Others hadn't seen him since the dark years of imprisonment. He was expected at 6:30 p.m., but delays came. Then more. 2 hours passed. No one sat still. No one wanted to sit at all. They sang. They danced. Kiirtan filled the corridors. Some sang with voices raised, others with tears that wouldn't stop. They weren't waiting for a celebrity. They were waiting for the center. One Margiis said softly, "There is nowhere else on the planet I would rather be today." Then, a wave of stillness swept the room. The singing softened, heads turned. There, walking calmly into view, was the one they had been waiting for. White robes, gentle smile, spectacles resting lightly on his face, and a presence that didn't arrive. It entered, like the sunrise enters a room without knocking. There was no past, no future, just this moment. Some whispered, "Baba." Others shouted it through sobs. Some knelt. Others froze. But in every heart, the same fire bloomed. He walked slowly through 2 rows of devotees. Each one felt that he looked at them. Each one felt seen, as if he had come only for them, as if all the world had paused for this moment alone. Baba sat down calmly, smiled, and said, "You see,
I have kept my word. 2 years ago, I promised to visit Switzerland at the first opportunity I would get. Now I have come. I always keep my word.
Then came the dancing. The sisters stepped forward to perform Kaushiki, flowing like waves guided by rhythm and love. Baba watched, nodding gently. "Excellent," he said. Then the brothers danced Tandava with thunder in their feet and fire in their eyes. "Super excellent," Baba said, and the room became a garden of children glowing in the light of their father's delight. And then, without fanfare, Baba stood. A car was waiting to take him to the small alpine village of Fiesch. The road to Fesh curled through the mountains like a prayer rising. Baba sat quietly, his eyes half closed, the landscape unfolding around him in silence. At one point he whispered, "I am very pleased with the warmth of the Margiis and Proutists." Then he added softly, "I've not had sleep, and my ankles are still weak from those years in prison, but they will grow strong again." Late that night, the car entered the valley of Fiesch. The peaks of the Alps stood like sages under moonlight. The air was sharp, the silence holy. This place, Baba said, was ideal for meditation, a place charged with tantric vibration. "Maximum master units should be created here," he said, "so that people from all over the world may come and remember who they are." The mountains did not speak, but they listened, as did the trees, and the stones, and the sky. Baba had come, and the sky above Fiesch had opened. There are some mornings that rise not with the sun, but with something deeper, a kind of hush that spreads through the trees, a rhythm in the wind that seems to listen. That morning in the Swiss village of Fiesch, it wasn't dawn that woke the valley. It was Baba. He had just finished his meditation. Yes, in the back seat of that moving car. After 33 hours without sleep and 9 hours without sadhana, he had sat cross-legged, eyes closed, and gone inward, showing once again that discipline was not a choice for convenience, but the lifeblood of the path. When the car stopped near the wooden guest house prepared for him, 2 dadas hurried to open the door. Baba stepped out slowly. He looked around, at the mountains, the sky, the air, and simply said, "Yes, this is the right place. The vibrations here are very good." He then asked, "What is grown in this valley?" No one replied. A pause. "Do they harvest grapes with the seeds or without?" Again, silence. Baba smiled. "You must know everything," he said, with a gentle teasing voice. And then, as if he were the village elder who had lived there all his life, he began to explain the methods of grape fermentation, the irrigation systems used in the region, the mountain goat migration trails, the shape of the roots beneath the snow. The dadas listened, eyes wide, pens still in their pockets. How did he know? And why this, after such a journey? But Baba was not just teaching. He was preparing the field, literally and metaphorically, for the next 7 days. By early morning, the village began to stir. The Alps were radiant now, sunlight glancing off the peaks. Nearly 700 Margiis had arrived from all corners of the globe: Germany, Sweden, India, Argentina, Japan. Young families with children, old sannyasins with worn robes, a mother from New York who had only known Baba from photographs, a couple from Finland who'd learned kiirtan without knowing the meaning, just the vibration. And in the center of it all, like the stillness in the heart of a hurricane, Baba. That first morning, he stepped out for his field walk. Not an event, not a performance, just walking. But for those who followed, it was like walking through the pages of the Vedas themselves. There was no schedule, no microphone, no formal gathering. Just the crunch of gravel under sandals, the smell of pine and melting snow, and Baba's voice floating between science and spirit. "That flower," he said, pointing to a tiny violet bloom, "has a vibration close to the fifth layer of the mind. If used properly, it can cure both melancholy and arrogance." Someone asked, "Baba, how do we know which plants have vibration?" Baba turned. "By doing sadhana," he said simply. "Then all will speak to you." Another devotee dared to ask about the connection between Tantra and nature. Baba didn't answer right away. Instead, he picked up a small stone from the path, held it in his palm. "This too," he whispered, "has rhythm. You cannot see it, but it vibrates with purpose. Everything in the universe vibrates with purpose, except those who forget to listen." The devotees walked behind him in reverent silence. Some smiled through their tears. Some bit their lips, overwhelmed. One young Margiis whispered, "I feel like I'm dreaming." But Baba had not finished. He pointed to a large tree. "That one is old, from the Druid times. It remembers. That's why it leans toward the east." No one knew what to say, but everyone knew what to feel. By midday the walk was over, but no one moved. They stood still under the sun, as if the path had not ended but was still unfolding beneath their feet. And Baba, with that slight smile that always seemed to know more than it showed, turned and said, "Do not think I am just walking. I am walking inside you." Then he returned to the house, slowly, purposefully, and the valley, once again, went quiet. Not with emptiness, but with fulfillment. As if Fesh itself had waited for lifetimes for this 1 week. And now, finally, the master had come. The morning after Baba's arrival in Fesh, the air itself seemed to be listening. Snow was still caught in the shadows of the pines, and small clouds drifted low across the valley like thoughts that hadn't yet formed words. A quiet group of Margiis waited near the lodge, wrapped in shawls and scarves, holding nothing but breath and expectation. Then Baba stepped out, white robe, white blanket draped around his shoulders, walking stick in hand. He began to walk, and they followed. Not too close, not too far. The trail curved upward. He walked steadily, the forest opening before him, as if it too had been waiting. After a few minutes of silence, Baba turned and asked, "What is the difference between the skeleton of a bird and the skeleton of a mammal?" No one answered. Some looked at the ground, others looked at each other. One Dada began to speak, stopped, then bowed his head. Baba waited only a moment, then chuckled softly. "You should know everything," he said again, as if lovingly repeating a line from a play only he remembered. The wind moved through the trees. Then he turned again and began walking. A young boy from Germany, no older than 12, walked quietly behind Baba with his mother. Baba turned and smiled at him. "What does your name mean?" The boy hesitated. I don't know." Baba nodded. "Then find out. A name is a seed. You should know what is growing inside you." The boy looked down. His mother began to cry softly. No one said a word. At the top of the trail, the trees opened into a wide clearing. Baba stood still and pointed with his stick toward the distant glaciers. "Why does the river there flow east instead of west?" Again, silence. Then Baba turned, eyes playful, voice gentle. "You are walking through a classroom, not a forest. Everything is teaching.
The question is not whether the world is speaking. The question is, are you listening? He walked a few steps, then stopped again. Tell me, if water is life, what is fire? No one moved. Baba didn't expect an answer. He never did. His words were not quizzes. They were keys. One of the Dadas whispered to another, Baba is not showing us the world. He is showing us how to see it. As they began to descend the trail, Baba slowed. One sister from Brazil stepped forward. Baba, sometimes I feel like I'm not qualified for this path, that I don't know enough, that I'm not strong enough. Baba stopped. The group paused behind him. He looked at her with deep, steady eyes. You feel this way because the path is working. He paused. It is the ego that feels confident. It is the soul that feels humble. She nodded, tears silently falling. Baba touched his hand to his heart. Keep walking. The strength will come from within, not before the path, but through the path. Back at the lodge, the walk ended, but no one moved. Some sat in silence. Others leaned against pine trees or stood gazing into the distance. Everyone felt it. Something had shifted, not outside, but inside. One Dada whispered, I don't remember the answers, but I feel like I was taught something far more important. And in the silence that followed, no one needed to explain what that meant. The sun had climbed higher. The snow began to melt softly. And the trail, though empty, still echoed with his footsteps. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to the Worker channel. Each video is created as a sacred offering to inspire, to remember, and to walk the path together. You can support this journey simply by clicking like, sharing it with someone who may need it, or leaving a comment below. Every action helps spread Baba's light to corners still waiting to be reached. Thank you for being part of this unfolding prachar. Babanam Kevalam. Love is all there is.